time is now 6:30, and I will call this public hearing of the Charter Revision Commission to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Right, roll call. Matthew Radant, present. Linda Jardins,
Present.
June Gagney,
Present.
Cheryl Hurley is absent. She did let me know in advance. Christopher Lumpkins, absent. Colleen Legaskis,
Present.
and Dan Kapsikevich. Item C, review and approval of minutes of the November 21st, 2023 regular meeting. Minutes have been distributed.
I just wanted to mention that it started at 6:30 p.m., not 7. So I'll make a motion to accept the minutes with that change. Second.
June has made a motion to amend and accept the minutes as amended. Second by Lynn. Any additional discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Item D, public hearing. So this is our third and final public hearing of the Charter Revision Commission. So up to this point, we have had 2 prior public hearings to hear from the public any input about suggested revisions to the town charter, to provide input on suggestions that were provided to us by the Board of Selectmen. So tonight is our third and final one. We have adopted a draft report. It is not final. So if there is anybody who wishes to approach the commission at this time, just please state your name, village of residence at the microphone. And we do have a nice handful of people here tonight, so if we could keep our comments or remarks to about 5 minutes or less until everybody has had a chance to speak to their desires. The floor is yours.
Jenny Kapsikevich, 265 Gender Road, Worcester. First, I want to thank the Charter Revision Committee for reviewing this document. It is an important document that we should be following at all times, and so I appreciate your efforts and the time and energy that you have invested. I also want to thank our selectmen for bringing this Charter Revision Committee forward as we need to make these decisions. My questions regarding, I believe it's number 1. Nope, I apologize. It is number 5. Shall the annual town budget vote go to referendum for approval? So I spent some time this afternoon in the clerk's office investigating how previous budget votes have turned out and when there was a referendum. So as we know from our current charter, we go to a referendum if there's going to be a mill rate increase. So I'm concerned that if we go to referendum, if we move our budget to referendum, while I appreciate that we're going to capture a better time window for voting and therefore potentially capture more voters, my concern is that how our current charter is written, that there is a 25% voter turnout as an expectation of a referendum. So my first question or statement is we do not historically have those numbers at our budget votes to support, whether it is referendum or whether it is in a town meeting. We do not have those numbers to support 25%. So my question for maybe not this group of people, but for the record, if we go to referendum votes for our budget and we do not get the percent of turnout, is that considered a failed budget? and therefore goes to budgetary cuts prior to the town meeting. So that's my statement. So thank you, everybody.
At this time, I'll recognize, just to answer that question directly, in case there was that same question being thought about from other members, I'll recognize the first selectman, Kevin Cunningham, to weigh in on this. I will add briefly that we do have that question on our minds as well, and that was one of the clarification points we were looking for from the town attorney. Our draft changes to how that question, if approved, would look, would have removed the 25% quorum threshold or even a failed or approved vote to be effective. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Kevin Cunningham.
Okay, thank you, Chairman and Board. And just to address that issue, I will share with you what the attorney has made for modifications for Section 2.4 for the annual town budget, annual budget referendum. And I want to share with you that. This is also an inclusion of what the attorney had passed back to us. What you'll notice in there is that, I've got a couple extra copies. So what you'll notice here is there's no more reference to the 25% rule. There is instead just a continual return back to referendum. And yes, it does address the issue of all those people who are not able to get out to do the vote at a town meeting, and it allows people to actually do absentee ballots. So I think that is one of the big things that was asked for by the public, is their availability to get in to do a vote at a referendum versus having to come to just a small window for a town meeting. So that's what the way it was drafted by the town attorney, and you can review that. I think it's appropriate. We still have time to review this and also other things if we wanted to. Hope that answers the question.
I believe, just to supplement that answer as well, the operative part of that question as presented was, rather than shall the annual town budget vote, shall all annual town budget votes. So I'm correct in that understanding of the logic.
All.
John, can you mention your name and village?
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
okay, Don Develop, all votes. So we fail the referendum first time around. Then the next time we go back to the process, and it will go back to referendum next time.
Correct.
Each and every time.
Each and every time.
Okay.
Until a budget is approved.
Only the portion of the budget
That failed. But I'll mention that is also provided question 1 is also approved.
Right, yeah.
Anyone else who would like to approach the Charter Revision Commission? Provide for 30 additional seconds before turning it over to a more pointed question. Okay, at this time, just utilizing the public hearing forum, I would like just to direct a question to our sitting first selectman. first selectman who is sitting with us, I'm saying, not on a temporary basis. Were there any other communications from the town attorney regarding these questions that could be provided at this time?
So the town attorney did review all of the questions, and that was the only one that he came up with a modification for it. Again, he has gone through many charter revisions for different towns that he's worked with. I think he had the same concerns that this charter revision has with the timing. Because if you think about trying to get 10% of the registered voters out to an actual town referendum to vote on these in the middle of the year, so it doesn't have a connection with an election, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. That's exactly why we thought of holding off and actually starting the Charter Revision Commission at a certain point, because it gives us that full 16 months inclusive of the next November election cycle. So that was his only real concern. And other than that, we'll continue to go forward, have a full red line version and of what the charter would look like, so that whether it's this commission or the public would like to read through it, they can do so. As you've already recognized, we've gone through and drafted some if it was a standalone, as if we were to do it at March, what the ballot would look like. We've done that. And, with the 13 questions, it kind of fills up one side and goes to the other. So, still doable. Just a matter of what it would look like. So that way, you really get a vision of what the charter revision would look like on its own. If we do have to get to a November cycle instead, we've also looked at what the last time we had it at a national election and charter revision questions on the top. And while it was somewhat crowded, it was still doable, but not maybe for 13 questions. So, again, this is a continual process. We've done this many times over the last few years, and it will probably continue again. But I think the most important one, obviously, are the brought forth by this commission, and I appreciate that very much. And we'll see what we get to over the next couple of weeks, what the next step will be.
Modification that you mentioned beforehand, that's to the red line version, not the question wording
Correct.
itself.
Correct. These are making sure those are also valid.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Members, commission, public?
Just like, my only concern with holding off on the timing is, going to November, is that we have to then go through another budget cycle with the current charter the way it is. And I don't feel that that's a fair way to go through the budget process.
It is a concern.
We were talking about an educational session to inform the public in the current words and the way it's worded today, so that we minimize that confusion. So everybody goes in with the same mindset of this is what your vote will mean on each of these. I think that is a near-term workaround that would be much needed. I don't know how we would work that through.
And I think that will be, in large part based on the materials that we're selecting, ultimately, based on what they ultimately decide to advance with, what's our likely one is. But by all means, there's definitely going to be plenty of material that can be made available, will be made available about these potential changes and communicated to the public as well.
And whose role is that to provide those education sessions and to provide materials?
I believe it's been stated at the previous meetings that we will be able to house the red line version of the changes through the town clerk's office. I'm sure that if, based on who has the information, it would be free to distribute it if approached, and unless we'll be in that capacity. Our selectman's office, I'm sure, will receive some inquiries to that information as well. But beyond that, I think that's going to be a work in progress to decide the best way to reach out and try to promote the information out there.
Yeah, and I was specifically talking about the way the charter is written today in terms of where the capital program plan and the aspect
responsibility to follow when you're elected officials and any vigilant citizens who want good information to be available.
I think these meetings themselves are informational.
Any other comments?
If I may again, permission to do it from here.
Sure.
So to Colleen's point, and I failed to mention it earlier about if we do go to a special election on the charter revision questions, I did look back, the last time, at least the budget went to a referendum vote, which was in May of 2019. There were 812 people who casted a vote. So in theory, that those approximately 800 people really value our budget. So if we tie in the people who are going to be most concerned about the budget, right, that's coming up this coming May, and who will actually appear on a special election, we will not hit the number of votes needed. And so I would caution our select people in pushing these really important charter revision questions to a special election.
Thank you. If there are no other comments, questions, concerns, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded for adjournment. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.